board game that we're going to review this week, because any way I can squeeze board games into this show is always a good thing. The first one we're going to review is called Prohis.
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 Is that the right way to say it?
Prohis, yeah. So this is a game from Blue Orange Games. It is a kind of a deduction, see if your other players are jerks game. I guess that's the best way I can explain it. It's actually really easy. It's a card game. And the game works, basically you're all smugglers in the 1920s and 30s during the Prohibition era of, I guess, the U.S. If you're one of our friends overseas. This makes sense in the U.S. So it's in the 19s and 20s and 30s when there was a prohibition. So what you're playing a smuggler. You're playing Han Solo of all people. And you're trying to smuggle goods, both illegal and legal goods, to your warehouse so that you can get more money.
You're trying to transport.
Yeah, you're trying to transport stuff.
Both
now, the problem is that as you're transporting things between to your warehouse, the other players are trying to snuff out and be inspectors and see if you're smuggling illegal goods.
Right.
So part of the game is kind of a liar's dice is kind of the thing are you lying to me? So the game starts out with, there's two different types of cards. There are good cards, goods, meaning legal and illegal goods. And then there is also what are called Prohi cards. I would call these like inspectors.
Yeah.
So each player starts out with two inspectors, and there's let me jump back here. There's three different types of inspector cards. There's lieutenants, there's captains, and then there's majors.
Like different rankings.
Yeah, there's different rankings for each one, and they have a star on it, and I'll tell you what that means later on. But the game works this way. So you shuffle up the goods, and you shuffle up. Each player starts out with two Prohis or inspector cards. And you shuffle up all the other cards, and you pass out cards to everybody. I think it's 4 cards. And then there's a draw pile in the center of the table. And during your turn, you can either get more cards, or you can do a convoy, meaning you can try to transport things to your warehouse.
Convoy. Break one now.
Different time period. But when you're doing a convoy, you actually put your cards face down. So all the other players don't know if you're trying to transport legal or illegal goods. Now, illegal goods give you more money, just like in, unfortunately, real world. If you transport more illegal things to your warehouse, you will inevitably get more money. So I don't know if this is a good game to teach little kids, but...
What's the age range? 10 and over.
Yeah. We didn't actually say that. It's 3 to 6 players. We played with 4 players. I think the more players is probably better. Takes it probably about 15, 20 minutes to play.
Yeah, it says 20 minutes in here.
Yeah. So when you make these convoys, the cards, it's actually pretty cool. You place the cards face down, and on the back of the cards, there's these little trucks.
You can have up to 4, I think, right?
2 to 4 cards in your convoy. And so at that point, then you can basically say to the remaining players of the group, does anybody want to inspect my convoy? Does anybody think I'm harvesting or harboring illegal goods? Everybody around the table can say if they're going to inspect you. But when they say they're going to inspect you, they have to show one of their inspector cards. And this is where the rank comes in. Depending on the rank of the inspector card they show. Oh, actually, let me jump back. Before they say, I'm going to inspect your convoy. I think you're harboring some illegal goods. You can bribe them, which is the best part of the game.
Hey, I'll give you one of my cards if you just let this convoy pass on, you know.
But that's part of the game, because like it's one of those things where if I jump real quick and I say, hey, I'll bribe you, you're like, well, clearly you got something bad in there, just like a real cop would do, right? But here's the trick. If that person decides to inspect your convoy and they only find legal goods, they get a penalty, right? Just like if a cop stopped you illegally. Let's not get into that. But if a cop stopped you
shoot them. Easy.
If a cop stopped you wrongfully, they would be punished. And then if a cop stopped you
theoretically,
rightfully, then they...
No. They're not getting punished.
Okay, here we go. Moving along. But if they find something illegal, then the person who's trying to smuggle the illegal goods suffers a penalty. So it's one of those games where it's like, if you're inspecting me and I jump up real quick and I'm like, hey, here's a bribe. Don't check my stuff. I could be playing you because I want you because I only have legal goods, but I'm trying to make it look like I have illegal goods. So there's part of that game too. It's a little bit.
I did that in that round.
Yes, there's bluffing in this game, which is great.
And there's chance too, because like you can put out 4 things in your convoy, but my Prohi maybe only has 1 star. So I have a 1 in 4 chance of hopefully finding illegal goods.
Yeah.
If I can, it's like, oh crap. Yeah.
So the Prohi cards, like you said, they're ranked. There's a lieutenant, major, and a captain. So each one of those cards have a number of stars on them. So when you show that Prohi card when you're going to do an inspection, it's based on how many stars of the Prohi card, inspector card that you showed, of what you get to look at. So you only, like, let's say you flip over a card that only has 2 stars, and Gerald has a convoy of 4 cards. I only get to flip over 2 cards of my choice. I might flip over, let's say 2 of them are legal goods and 2 of them are illegal, and I just unfortunately flip over only the legal goods.
Right.
That's part of the fun of the game, is because there's a randomization part, there's a bluffing part, there's a bluffing, you know what I mean? Like trying to make it look like you're harboring illegal goods versus legal goods. And what's cool, at the end of the game, this is the one thing that I love about this game. At the end of the game, if you have any illegal goods at the end of the game still in your hand that you didn't transport to your warehouse, you get a negative effect. Another game that's very similar to this is called Sheriff of Nottingham.
It's like a cut down version of that game.
Yeah, which is great because the game's great. It's a fantastic game. Definitely recommend it. But what that game doesn't do is it doesn't penalize you for having bad goods in your hand at the end of the game. This says, it's just, I always think of like, again, a drug smuggling thing. If you didn't sell off your product, you would be in trouble from whoever supplied you the product. Yep. So that part I love about the game because it encourages people to actually try to smuggle illegal goods. Where in Sheriff of Nottingham, sometimes you can win the game by just transporting legal goods. You can literally win the entire game just by transporting legal goods, and that's not fun. It's like the part of this game is to be a smuggler. So, what do you guys have anything else to add? Oh, by the way, whoever has the most money or smuggled the most goods money-wise at the end of the game wins. So, I mean, that's obvious, right? I mean, if you're a smuggler, whoever's the richest at the end wins.
The only negative I found in the game, which was...
Well, wait. You want to just review it and then we'll talk about our thoughts? I was saying, do you have anything else to add how to play the game?
Oh, no. You
I covered it?
You covered how to play the game.
Okay, let's do our standard review and then we'll talk about our thoughts. So this is our thumbs up. Very scientific. Thumbs up is great. Thumbs down is bad. And then the middle is okay. And that's probably the best way to subscribe it. 1, 2, 3.
All right, we got 2 okays and a thumbs up.
Okay, we'll start with me since I'm the outlier. The reason why
just keep talking. So
yeah, I know.
We'll start end and do the middle with you. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So the reason I gave this a thumbs up is a couple things, and it's actually kind of piggybacks off of what I just said with Sheriff of Nottingham. I love that game. I love Sheriff of Nottingham.
Sheriff is probably my favorite.
It's probably a better version of this game, if I'm completely honest. But the reason that I like this game so much is that it's easier to teach and it's quicker. It's by far quicker. It doesn't have as much minutia, which makes it more simple. But I always talk about this. I love those games that fit that middle window. I love heavy games. We talked about it earlier. I love the games with super theme that take 4 hours to play, but not everybody's in that boat with me.
Right.
So I enjoy the games that still provide me strategy, but I can play within a small amount of time frame, and I can play and explain a game to a brand new player within 45 minutes to an hour. Those are the perfect game because I end up honestly playing those more often. Unfortunately, I can't hang out with you guys every day of every week to play those heavy games. I play these types of games with family members, with other friends who aren't, avid board gamers, and this fits that perfect window of being strategic and fun and thematic, to be perfectly honest, and also be easy. So that's why I get a thumbs up, because there's so many games that don't do that well. Either they fall too far on the heavy category, or they're too simple, or they're just not fun. This fits those three things. It has strategy, it's easy to learn, and it's fun. It's fun because you play.
No, it was fun. I had a good time playing the game.
Right.
Yeah.
So Gerald, what are your thoughts?
I had a good time playing the game, and I agree with you. It's nice to have those games where you can literally bring anybody's house, and hopefully everyone's going to enjoy it. I do enjoy Sheriff of Nottingham way more than this game, just because you do more of the BS stuff, and like I said, bluffing. You can be legit the whole time and still win. It's great. The theme of this is good. It's all right. I don't know. It's more based on chance to me more than skill. Because you're up to like what you randomly pick out of that 4, what it's going to be good. Where Sheriff of Nottingham, it's your choice to open. Yeah, you see everything. It's your choice to open the bag based on strategy. Where this is more based on chance, which I don't like. I think I lost this game.
Yeah.
So that's another one. But Jordan, what do you think?
I very much won this game by a lot.
Yes, you did.
I had like 75,000, and I think the closest one was
40,000.
Like 40,000.
Yeah, you killed it.
I destroyed it, and it's because
which says more about you than
right. And the thing that I found funny is like, so part of the game is there's cards that you can draw, and they're
there's a draw deck. Yeah, there's a draw deck that's face down, and then there's 4 face up cards.
Well, if the face up cards are illegal goods, you can still take them, and I took them often, and I still won. And you guys should have known. And the reason I felt this game was, and that's the reason I gave it middle thumbs. I really had a fun time, and I won. So you're already like up. But the problem with the game is it was slightly broken, because one of the details you can do is if I'm bribed and I decide to not take the bribe, you can take your points. So you can just take your guy. So your inspector has an amount of points given to him, like 5,000, 6,000 points. It's a high amount of points towards the end of the game. And if I don't take your bribe, you can say, screw it. I'm just going to take my guy's 6,000
and get
points.
6,000 or 4K or something where the goods would have been worth 2.
Right. And you don't know. And you
That's
may
not
not get anything. So you get, best case scenario, I'm all illegal goods and you'd get a lot from me for this hold. But worst case scenario, you either get nothing or maybe you get 4,000. Your inspector guy's worth like 5,000. So I would never ever take a bribe, and I think that's why I won, because then you guys would say, well, I just want to keep this, I want to bank my 5,000 or 6,000 when I can,
right,
and not take the chance, because I did have a couple where I only put goods out, so you guys would have been screwed, and I was hoping you would take those so that you would not do it in the future. But when I would just never take a bribe. So the bribing function was kind of eliminated for me as a player because I just wouldn't take it. And I would hope that you would want to bank your 5,000 and then I would bank all my illegal goods, which would be like 16,000 worth of points. The other part that was broken was at the end of the game was as you run out of cards, the very end, the game end function happens when the last card is pulled. And now this might go away when other people learn the strategy, right, because you would know to keep your Prohis, your inspector characters
at the
in
very
your hand.
end.
Yeah, I think that's my problem is I kind of blew my load early when I used all my inspector cards.
Well, and
right
I knew that everybody had used their prospector cards, so I intentionally pulled the last card to trigger the end of the game. I knew that everyone would play everything they had, right, and I'd be the last person to go, and I had a hand full of illegal goods that I got to bank because no one could stop me. Right. And that ended up being like a 16,000 thing pulled, which is why I won by such a considerable amount.
Right.
So those things, and that might be fixed by playing the game more with people who play the game more, because then they would have the strategies involved. Stuff, yeah. But to me, it was the very first time I played the game, and I was able to dissect it to a point that I won hands down. Right. And to me, that kind of took the little bit of the fun out of it. But that being said, I love winning. I had a great time. I was glad to win by almost double, but I just think that there's just I don't know if that's something that can be fixed or if there's a way you could change that to make it so that's not a motivation to not bribe someone so much. But anyways, that's the reason I give it a side. It's definitely not a negative. It is a fun game. Had a great time. It's just there's a little bit of the strategy that I felt was OP.
Well, I think one of the things to address one of the things you said in Sheriff of Nottingham, one of the things that I have noticed, and it's easy to compare this game to that because it is very similar.
I've never played that game. Yeah,
that game, it's a very good game. But in this case, one thing that Sheriff of Nottingham, sometimes you can still win the game if you're not. What this game is trying to do, because of the bribe mechanic of being awarded, if you bribe and still don't take the bribe, you get something. It's trying to encourage people to make a bribe.
It is, but it's
and
also
that's one of the things that the Sheriff of Nottingham.
Right.
Well, I think once you play the game more and you learn strategy, I think it's one of those things where you keep playing the game that will inevitably kind of dwindle that ability to do that. Yeah, it definitely balances out the play. So generally, I enjoyed it. So you like?
No, I thought it was, like I said, a fun game.
It's like, I think it's $10 to $15 on Amazon or any like cardhouse.com. You can find it for like $10. So it's an excellent card game.
That increases it, honestly. Being a cheap fun. It was a fun game. And it's something that I could play with like my wife and her family, which isn't into the heavy games at all. They don't like the heavy games. So I think it's a great game. I'm just saying that was kind of affected my experience.
Maybe playing it with more
because if I played this against people who, I mean, you guys know strategy really well too. We play heavy games together. We all understand strategy, and I was able to manipulate it that quickly for that. If I played it against people that didn't understand strategy, it would just not be fun.
Right.
I mean,
way to ruin the game.
Yeah. Sorry.
Just kidding. All right. So that's Prohis from Blue Orange Games.